One.
This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast. If you like the cap or no cap format we did last week for the NBA preview, you're in luck because Matt and I are going to do the exact same thing for our college basketball preview. So once again, we love all of our listeners, but this is probably the one or two episodes that we do encourage you that if you are listening on the Spotify channel to switch over for the YouTube channel. But obviously, we love you regardless. So without further ado, Matt, you ready to get into the topics?
Yes, we love you. We love everyone.
All right, so our first topic, and of course, as you all know, we found these narratives on the NCAA basketball Twitterverse, and Matt and I are either going to validate it or not validate it. So our first one, without further ado, Kansas has a legitimate chance to go back-to-back. Matt, what are your thoughts?
Well, there's no point in getting the cap because it's college basketball. Anything can happen. Of course, they have a legitimate chance to repeat. They've still got Jalen Wilson. They've got Kevin McCullough Jr. They've got DeJuan Harris Jr., coming in. They're going to be fine. The Big 12 is a loaded conference, but they're still always finding a way to end up on top. And with college basketball, anybody can win at any time. So the wording of the question is what I have a problem with because, yeah, they have a shot. Even if it does happen, repeats don't happen a lot, let's be honest. But everybody has a chance. That's the beauty of college basketball. You don't know whether they'll end up getting bounced in the second round or if they'll make it back to the final game. So I'm just going to keep the cap off because I really can't say because that's how the tournament's designed. You've got three really good guys coming back who took their name out of the NBA draft. I'm excited to see what Jalen Wilson does. You know, I know they lost Remy Martin. I'm very excited to see how some of these guys step up to fill that shoe. So Big 12 is a loaded conference. We're going to talk about it, but I'm going to say no cap. They have a good chance to repeat. They've got some very talented guys, and Bill Self is Bill Self.
Nike rain hat, because you know I got the drip like that. So anyways, this is absolute cap to me because for the main reason being is that they lost 4 starters on the title season from a year ago. And honestly, Matt, I don't even think they're the best team in the Big 12. And I know you're probably expecting me to do the homer thing and roll with my Longhorns.
No, I know you better than that.
Okay, very good. But I'm going to roll with the Baylor Bears as the best team in the Big 12. I mean, I look at the guys they got coming back. You know, they got Adam Flager, LJ Cryer, in the backcourt. Had a little bit of a word vomit there. And, of course, they got the guy with the coolest name in college basketball, Flo Thamba. And to top it off, they have the best pure scoring freshman in the nation in Keontae George. And this might be a little bit of a hot take, but I think that Scott Drew is the best coach in the Big 12.
Yeah, that's not a hot take to me because we're going to change our tune in about 3.5 years when Scott Drew takes the job at UK and continues that dynasty. But yeah, Les, you're totally right about Baylor. I know this isn't a question about Baylor, but Keontae George is going to be a revelation for college basketball next year.
It's a freaking bucket.
Did you mention LJ Cryer even? I mean,
yes.
I'm not faulting you because Baylor has a lot of really good guys. So yeah, Baylor, I think will actually win the Big 12. But when the question was just like that, you gotta roll with what you know. And I know that Kansas, in spite of the fact we want them to be down, we'll never really be down. But I also really like Baylor. I think that, like I said, we're going to talk about the Big 12 here in a bit. So, but yeah, I agree. I think Baylor will probably win the conference. But in terms of a tournament, I don't know. I got a feeling that Kansas with young guys could gel like that. But I'm very excited to see what Baylor does. So.
Fair enough. So moving on to the next question. Narrative. North Carolina was a one-year wonder.
Hey, Les. Do they still have Armando Bacot?
Yes, they do.
Do they still have Caleb Love?
Yes, they do.
Do they still have RJ Davis?
Yes, they do.
Did Pete Nance transfer in?
Yes, they did.
We're done.
No cap?
I got nothing else to say. There's no cap there at all. I mean, how could you call them a one-year wonder when they have that much talent coming back and are bringing one of the more talented guys from like one of the weaker Big Ten teams I've seen? You can't rightfully say that. I mean,
where's your hat? Where's your hat?
That was a cap. I'm sorry. as you can see, I'm going with my idiosyncratic sports hat, so it's great. But that's Cap. That's Cap. I mean, I guess it really depends on what your definition of 1 year wonder is. But this team's going to be at the top of the ACC all year. They're going to be a top seed in the tournament. And if they fail from that, hi Bean. And if they fail from that, then I don't know what's going to happen. But yeah, that's Cap, man. You can't tell me that bringing back 3 starters as impactful as Baycott, Love, and Davis, and throwing in Pete Nance isn't going to be worth at least a 4 seed or higher come tournament time in March. That's ridiculous. So yeah, that's Cap. That's Cap. North Carolina is going to be back. They're going to be fine.
You all know I'm a Duke fan. You all know that I despise, and Beans giving me kisses just to like make, because he knows that it kills me to say this.
It's going to hurt.
It's going to hurt, but yes, this is absolute Cap. Like this is this isn't just Cap, Matt. This is the cappiest of caps that's ever capped. Because if North Carolina is not your preseason #1 team in the country, I don't care what kind of hot take you're trying to make. You just don't know basketball at this point.
No.
They returned, I know Brady Manick was getting a lot of publicity last year and during their championship run, championship game appearance run. And, as he should have, he hit a lot of big shots. But RJ Davis and Caleb Love are the best backcourt in college basketball. Armando Baycott, who is literally trending exactly like I predicted when he was coming out of IMG to be this college star. He was a double-double machine last year. He led college basketball in double-doubles, even over Oscar Tshiebwe. And he should have won ACC Player of the Year last year. I don't think he wins it this year because I actually think it's going to go to one of his teammates in the backcourt. But yes, and honestly, it's probably not the one you're thinking. I think it's going to be RJ Davis.
No, I was thinking RJ Davis.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of Love gets a lot of publicity, but I think it's RJ Davis. I think he's the engine that makes that team run. So
we're going to get to my ACC pick here in a bit. So
right. No, this is absolute Cap. I mean, this is a team that went to the championship a year ago and they returned everybody. I mean, it kills me to say it. I'm a Duke fan. I mean, but I can't be a fair podcast host, even though I know that fair word is, pushed to the boundaries every episode, but
but we try.
Yeah, we try. But no, North Carolina, I think, is definitely the preseason #1 team in the country. They're the team I think is going to win the championship. That's just what I'm going to throw out there, and I hate to say it, but no, I think this is absolute Cap. So we have anything else to add? Or are we moving on?
I'm ready to move on because, like you said, that's the cappiest cap to ever cap. That's a whole haberdashery.
Exactly. So #3, Gonzaga is the best non-Power 5 team. It's coming on. Yes,
Cap.
sir.
It's Cap.
Who you got?
I'm high on 2 very unique teams that could not be more different in outside the Power 5. The first being the one everyone expects me to say, which is I'm incredibly high on Houston. I'm a big Marcus Sasser fan. Jarace Walker, I think, is going to be one of those impact freshmen who's going to be absolutely amazing. And another team we're going to get to a bit later, I'm also incredibly high on Dayton. The Flyers are bringing back all 5 starters from last year. They don't have a lot of bench depth, but they've got just enough. And I love Drew Timme. I love Gonzaga. I like Mark Few a lot. But I'm going with a team that's got consistent starters at all 5 positions and is developing a deep bench. And I'm going with 2 guys, Jarace Walker, who's going to be a lottery pick, and Marcus Sasser, who's at least going to be worth taking a first-round pick on, who are both dynamic playmakers. I'm going to say Houston over Gonzaga this year, and I'm also very high on the Dayton Flyers. So that's Cap, unfortunately, Gonzaga. I'm sorry, guys.
Gonna have to agree again. It is complete Cap, and I agree 100%. The Houston Cougars are the best non-Power 5 team in all the land for a lot of the same reasons Matt said. If Caleb Love and RJ Davis are the best backcourt in college basketball, Marcus Sasser and Jamal Shead are right behind him at either #2 or even if you want to call him 1A, 1B. So, I mean, not to mention Jarace Walker. I'm going to tell you, that kid is an absolute beast. And I know you know this all too well, Matt, because of Kelvin Sampson used to coach your beloved Hoosiers. And when he wasn't making phone calls during the dead period, he was coaching a very hard-nosed style of basketball.
Yes, he was.
And that's exactly what he's carried over to Houston, and he's got all the right guys that fit that style perfectly. Jarris Walker is going to gel with that group just like glue, and the Houston Cougars are going to be head and shoulders above any other team outside the Power Five. Gonzaga, that includes you. I know you got Drew Timme coming back. I know y'all got Bolton coming back, and that other guy whose name I'm happen to blank on right now. But you know what? At the end of the day, not Nembhard. No, Nembhard's gone.
Oh, he's gone?
Yeah, it's another wing. It's another wing.
It's another
wing.
So many wings.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much breed wings at this point. But, it's Gonzaga. I mean, they play a good non-conference schedule, but, of course, they go weeks playing absolutely nobody, and then that's what's going to happen. So, sorry.
And that's what's the difference for me. Houston is at least in the AAC. They're going to be in the Big 12 soon enough. But right now, they're still in the AAC, which has some good powerhouses. And Dayton's in the Atlantic 10. So they're going to be going up against a lot of mid-majors who are almost not mid-majors. So I've got to give them the edge over Gonzaga. They're going to Gonzaga will play a great non-conference, but it just doesn't prepare you like it does playing really, really good teams going into your conference tournament and beyond. So Houston, number 1, Dayton, number 2, Gonzaga, still a solid choice. They're going to win their conference, but not the best in all the land.
Fair enough. So moving on to number 4, NIL has ruined college basketball.
I feel like my hat is going to get worn out from all the capping I'm doing today.
Same
because
here.
I don't see how anyone could say that unless I'm going to tie it in here to something I've said earlier, which is my ACC Player of the Year is Nigel Pack. I think he's going to have a great year in the ACC. I think he's a really good player. He's with Isaiah Wong now at the U, and Jim Larinaga is a good coach. Nigel Pack doesn't end up at Miami, Florida, without the NIL. The NIL is not killing college sports, because if the NIL was killing college sports, Texas A&M would be 7-0 by now, and we'd be worshiping them as the greatest team of all time in college football. The NIL does nothing. It doesn't really provide a competitive advantage like people said it was. It's basically just local businesses telling a kid who's 18 or 19, who's going to have money eventually anyway, hey, here's a couple $1,000s to promote my heating and cooling business because your last name's Heat. It's silly. What is going to kill college basketball is this new thing that the NCAA is passing in response to some of the stuff they've been getting, where 20% of teams are now going to participate in postseason sports. I don't know if you saw that or not. But that's going to expand the tournament by 20 teams if this is the case in college basketball. That ain't it, man. That ain't it. And I know that that we're watching the death of the NCAA. We really are. And I know that if the new NBA, CBA passes, the one and done rule will end officially. And guys like that we've been talking about so far in this podcast will be going directly into the draft. But the way to get people to watch college sports is to not ruin the one good thing you have, which is March Madness. NIL does not affect March Madness. I mean, St. Peter's beat Kentucky. There ain't no NIL money there. There ain't. Mm-hmm. There's just a good storyline and a good coach. So if it ain't going to affect college football, it surely to God ain't going to affect college basketball. What is going to destroy college basketball, unfortunately, are knee-jerk reactions like what the NCAA is doing with their tournament. And it's sad to say, but NIL, that's a cap. That's a cap. NIL will not destroy college basketball.
I'm going to have to agree 100% because, one, this should have happened a long time ago. Anytime you have a corporation that can make millions of dollars off these players' image and the players legally couldn't receive a dime of that, that's the real crime. And now that they're actually finally allowed to get compensated, that's finally getting justice for what they deserve. But number 2, we have, for the first time since Tyler Hansbrough was at North Carolina, we have the College Player of the Year returning. So that does not happen without NIL. And that's the thing that a lot of the old heads love to complain about is how players aren't staying in school as long. It's hard to fall in love with a team because everyone's leaving. Well, the Player of the Year came back. A bunch of guys are going to start coming back because they actually have an opportunity to make money in college. So, no, NIL does not ruin college basketball. However, I do want to talk about Mr. Nigel Pack because he had an opportunity to transfer to Duke, and I'm very upset that he didn't. But I also wish him the best of luck, though. But absolutely, this is Cap, and that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why people say this all the time. If you love a school, it's hard to fall in love with a team. We root for the mid majors every year in March. Those
Mhm.
are the teams that you want to root for who have been together for 4 years. And if you pay attention to the sport and find the right ones going into March, it can be a hell of a ride. I mean, if you watched any of our preview last year, remember how high I was on Wyoming and Colorado State? I loved watching them play, and they've been together for 4 years. So just pick a team that fits your MO and roll with them. Don't complain about people making bank.
We ready to move on to number 5?
Oh yeah, even though now I'm steamed up.
Now we're steamed up. Number 5, big men
Okay.
return to prominence in college hoops.
No, Les, that's definitely not a cap. That's no cap. That's no cap. Who won Player of the Year last year? A center and a big guy at that. I mean, Oscar Tshiebwe is just a mound of human being. He's unstoppable. We've got a lot of guys coming in at like forward and center positions. I mean, it's going to be incredible to watch some of these guys. Drew Timmy, I guess you could call him a stretch where he's a big man. Hunter Dickinson out in Michigan, he's got an outside shot, but he's still a big man. Trace Jackson Davis at Indiana, he's a pretty big guy. I think we're good. And Jamarian Sharp, a guy who I hope we get to talk about a little bit later, tallest player in college basketball. I think he's going to be like a godsend on a very good Western Kentucky team. Oh yeah, big men are coming back to prevalence. And I mean, I know he's not playing in college, unfortunately, because I would cry if he did. But the number one pick in like the NBA draft is expected to be a 7'4", maybe even taller center. So big men still do matter in this sport. And like you said, there are guys all over the place like Thamba. I mean, what Dariq Whitehead is 6'8". He's not really a forward. He's not really a big man though.
He's a wing more than
He's a
anything.
wing.
Yeah,
But he's
but
a
I
big
mean,
man.
but hold on. But our actual number 1 ranked recruit was a big,
Derek
Derek Lively.
Derek Lively. Yeah, I got him mixed up for some reason. But yeah, there's
Yeah,
gonna be a lot of good
just
big
to
men.
follow the trend. Yeah, I was giving you our recruit that our stud recruit that
Thank
was a
you.
big.
Because I
Yeah,
get those two mixed up. Because I know like Dariq Whitehead is a very large human being as well. So, but yeah, I mean,
he's grown to 6'8", 220, which is scary.
that is
Yeah.
scary. We're gonna answer that question in a minute. But I mean, yeah, big men, they're back. They never really left. In college, it's a different animal.
Yeah.
In college, if you have a dominating big man, you can win a lot. And I mean, I'd be remiss. I think he's coming back. Purdue still has Zach Edey, so
Still have Zach Edey, yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of big men out there who are really good, who play really well, competitive basketball. It's different than the NBA. So I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, I mean, in college basketball, I don't really think the big men ever really leave. There are
Mhm.
just some years where they're more prevalent than others. So yeah, good year for big men this year, I think.
I agree. I think it's a very good year for prominent big men because not only the guys we have coming back, the player of the year, Armando Bacot, Hunter Dickinson, Trace Jackson Davis, also the guys that we got coming in, Derek Lively, as we just alluded to. And I'm going to be honest with you. I may be a Duke fan, but there is a similar big that plays just like Derek Lively, who's playing at Oregon this year named Kalel Ware. I think
Yes,
I
Kevin
think
Cook.
he's better than Lively personally.
Wow. I've seen some mock drafts where the Pacers pick him up with like their second first rounder. And I
Mm-hmm.
gotta say, I love that. I would love to have a kid who looks that good, who's 7 foot on the Pacers roster. So I think we're in agreement here that big men,
Yeah,
pretty
big
big
men.
shoes.
Yeah, they never left. But I mean, obviously, the headline, it's a guards league, but big
Yep,
men are still have
they're
value. Don't get it
very
twisted.
valuable.
All right, so I think ready to move on to the next topic.
Yes, let's hit it.
Number 6, the Big 12 is the best conference.
Ugh, this is the hardest question you've asked because this is the point in the show where I go ranting about Big Ten basketball and how much I love Big Ten basketball and yada
Mm-hmm.
yada yada. Nose of the grindstone basketball. Isn't it beautiful? Unless I don't know if I can do this or not because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I think it is Cap,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to say it's not the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
It's the SEC. do I think is going to be the best conference? Because there are a lot of teams that just have like one or two guys who are very special. And yes, they do suffer for having a bigger conference, of course. That's one of the benefits of the Big 12, which is really just a Big 10. But it's amazing to see some of the guys that are got. I mean, you've got Miller at Alabama, you've got Gregory Jackson at South Carolina, you've got the entirety of the Kentucky team, you've got the entirety of the Arkansas team, you've got Auburn, who's going to be competitive every year now with Bruce Pearl. But I admit it is hard for me to say that, especially when I see how deep Baylor is, especially when I see Kansas and a team we haven't even talked about, TCU, and a guy named Mike Miles. You may want to pencil them in your bracket because Jamie Dixon's got them going crazy down for the Horned Frogs. This could be the year of the Horned Frog with Mike Miles. But I see these guys, Brandon Miller. I see all of these great players in the SEC, even if they're one man teams, and I'm like, I really don't know if I should go with the conference that's got like better overall because there's only 10 teams, or if I should go with the conference that's got a few really bad teams, but at the top has some of the best teams in college basketball, I think.
Y'all know that, I actually have a dog in this fight because one of my favorite teams is in the Big 12. And I think the Big 12 is a good conference, good competitive conference. But not so fast because y'all can't call me a complete homer for saying Cap because I do have a dog in the fight in the Big 12. I'll probably get homer comments because my other team plays in the ACC, and that's who I think is the best conference. And, we can talk about preseason all we want, but last year, how many ACC teams advanced far in the tournament? I rest my case. At the end of the day, that's how you know how good of a conference you actually have, when you have a bunch of teams going far in the tournament. And that is exactly what the ACC has every year.
But I will say that what's something we forget about last year because of their success is how only about, 4 ACC teams got in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very top heavy, but I could see an argument for I think that's the thing about college basketball this year, Les, is that a lot of the conferences are very top heavy. Because I can think
I'm
of
pretty
like
sure six got it. I'm pretty sure 6 got in and they all advanced.
Six?
No, 7 I think got in actually because Virginia Tech got it. No, because I think a lot. Yeah, I'm pretty sure 7 got in.
I'm trying to think. There was a year where only 4 ACC teams got in and they all did really well. It wasn't last year, I guess.
No, because there was 4 that went to the Elite Eight alone.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah.
What year am I thinking of then? Oh well,
I don't know.
That's not the point. Back to the point I was making. I feel like it's a very odd top heavy year across the conferences because, like I said, I look at the Big 12, TCU, Baylor, Kansas, they're head shoulders above the rest. ACC, Duke, UNC, really like Miami. Then there's a bunch of the rest. SEC has, I forgot about LSU with all the transfers they got from Murray State, like Justice Hill and KJ Williams, who, by the way, very good team last year, now just going down south. LSU, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky. So I feel Big Ten's even like that with Michigan and Indiana. Very top heavy across the board this year. So it's going to be, I think, a very even keeled race to see who can get the most teams in. So I think we're both right. I think we're both right to say that the Big 12 is capped, but I don't really know which one's better.
Well, moving on to number 7, just because we got to start speeding up a little bit. But number 7, Villanova misses Jay Wright more than Duke misses Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah, that's no cap. They're going to miss Jay Wright more than Mike Krzyzewski. I know they've got Cam Whitmore ready to go. He's going to be a really exciting player to watch. But Jay Wright isn't what Mike Krzyzewski is. Mike Krzyzewski was college basketball for a very long time. He's won many national championships, and Duke's already proven with Derek Lively, Dariq Whitehead, and everybody else that they don't need that they're a brand now. They don't need the certain coach. They don't need a certain person. They are a brand. Duke basketball is a brand, and that's going to attract people. Whereas Villanova, you're in the Big East. You can kind of get forgotten. They're still going to be good, but it's definitely going to be Villanova missing Jay Wright more than Duke misses Mike Krzyzewski because Duke's a brand. That's the bottom line.
I'm going to shock the world and agree with you that it is no cap at all. And the reason I say that is obviously Coach K is the greatest coach that's ever sat on the bench. Let's not get that twisted. But you know that farewell tour that, everyone loved to diss? Do you realize how much that set Duke up going forward? It established the culture that this is Coach Shire's team. And now, because of that, that helped his recruiting classes going forward. His first 2 official recruiting classes are top 2 in the country. Not to mention, they're already starting on 2024 now. So even though y'all love to hate on that farewell tour, it set Duke up well for the future. And like Matt said, Duke is a brand more so than Villanova. Also, that being said, sometimes this works out really well, sometimes it doesn't. But Jay Wright retired almost out of nowhere, so they had to rush to bring Kyle Neptune in. I had nothing against Kyle Neptune, but I don't know what kind of job he's gonna do. He's do what?
It's a great name, Kyle Neptune.
It is a great name, but he's rushed into a position. He's replacing a Hall of Fame coach, and he's got a lot on his plate. So Cam Whitmore is a very good player, absolutely. But it was a rush process. Sometimes it works out like Hubert Davis in North Carolina, but other times it doesn't. So if I had to at least pick the team that was more set up to succeed, at least off the bat, it's definitely Duke out of that. So absolutely no cap. Villanova will miss Jay Wright, who is a phenomenal coach. And in a lot of ways, he was the real innovator of the small ball offense, or small ball basketball. So yeah, I think they miss him more than Duke misses Mike Krzyzewski. But as you know, I got to say it because I'm the Duke fan. That is not a knock on Coach K as a coach whatsoever.
I don't think anybody is going to accuse you of that.
No, not at all. So moving on, number 8. This freshman class is better than last season's.
It's time to shock the world. Yeah, that's another no cap.
No cap?
No cap. They're going to be better. You've got, I'm just going to read off a list of names and then we'll move on. Nick Smith, Anthony Black, Gregory Jackson, Cam Whitmore, Keontae George.
Call him GG Jackson. Just call him GG Jackson.
GG Jackson.
There you go.
Walker, who we already talked about at Houston. Jordan Walsh, at Arkansas. Yeah, that's an exciting group of players. I'm really excited to see what they do.
You left out Amari Bailey too.
I did. I didn't even get to him yet.
Yeah. I think that proves the point.
Yeah. Last year seemed like the year of the transfer. This year seems like the year of the freshman. So, yeah, that's a no cap from me.
I'm going to go with a half cap because, half cap because I don't think this class has any top-heavy players like a Paulo Banchero or a Chet Holmgren or a Jabari Smith necessarily, but they're deeper for sure. That's not even a debate at all. They're so much deeper. Like I said, we're talking about a guy like Derek Lively being quote-unquote the best big man in this class. So some say, and you got the Duke fan on the podcast saying, no, not so fast. You got Khalil Ware. So, no, this class is absolutely loaded. And, there's a couple – and honestly, this is where I'm going to be the most of a Duke homer on the podcast.
You're
a guy that's ranked – yes. A guy that's ranked 27th in the class right now is honestly a hidden gem in Tyrese Proctor. I got my first real look at him and, countdown to craziness this weekend. Oh, my gosh, he's a gem. He's coming out of the NBA Global Academy that's produced a lot of top-tier NBA talent like a Josh Giddey, a Ben Simmons, all them. But, no, he's next in line. And he's, again, ranked at 27. And not to mention another one, J.J. Starling, who's going to be playing at Notre Dame. He's, I think, last I checked, was 30th. If there's 30 players better than him in this class, this class is loaded. That's all I got to say.
Very loaded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyways, that's all I got. I think it's time to move on to number 9 because we are approaching 10 minutes to go.
All right.
So the local teams are all going to be competitive this year.
That's going to be a half cap from me. I'm going to go sideways with it because Kentucky should be an odds-on favorite to be in the Final Four. And I'm going to tell you now that the best player on that roster that you'll need to watch is Antonio Reeves, a transfer from Illinois State. He is going to be amazing. I know they've got C.J. Frederick back and healthy. I know they've got Jacob Toppin back. I know they've got the Player of the Year back. But I'm telling you, Antonio Reeves is going to fix a lot of what ailed the Wildcats last season. And if you don't think, I know they're fun to hate, but if you don't think UK is going to be avenging that loss to St. Peter's this year, you're in for a world of hurt because they will. IU basically brought back the entire team. Trace Jackson Davis, Race Thompson, Tamar Bates, or yeah, Tamar Bates. They brought, I mean, they've got everybody they want. Malik Renault, speaking of freshmen, Hood Scarfino, speaking of freshmen. They're going to be very competitive in a weaker Big Ten conference with a good mix of veterans and youth. Now we're going to talk about the other two. Purdue, I thought they were going to be bad last year, and I was horribly wrong. I'm never going to doubt Matt Painter. I'm never going to doubt him with a 7 foot
But you
4
didn't think
guy
they're
on
going to
his
be bad.
roster.
No. You didn't think they were going to be bad last year. You had them as like the best team in the country.
Oh, I thought they were going to. Last year, I thought they were going to be mediocre. I really thought they
No,
were
no, no,
going to
no,
be.
no, no, no. You had them as like the best, one of the best teams in the country because like when they
Oh,
had Jaden Ivey
I
and
did.
Travion
That's
Williams.
right. Oh my God, I'm thinking of one I wrote a couple weeks ago. 2 years ago, I wrote a preview for Purdue where I was like, yeah, they're going to be okay. And ever
Mm-hmm.
since then, Purdue's been haunting my dreams and nightmares by making me look stupid. So they're going to be fine, I think. I'm never going to doubt Matt Painter ever since what he did in like the COVID year. Louisville is the one team that unfortunately, Cards fans, it's going to be a struggle. You've got a new coach. The ACC is very deep. I love Sidney Curry, but he's not going to get it done every night. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say a half cat. Two of those teams are definitely going to be competitive. Two of those teams they could surprise, but they could also be very disappointing. And I'm not going to take anything away from Kenny Payne coming into a weird situation in his first year. So half cap.
I'm going to say no cap because Kentucky's going to be a top 5 team all year long, I think. U of L, I think, may not be there yet where I think Kenny Payne will get them, but I think they'll make a big improvement.
They'll get there.
IU, I think, takes a big step in year 2 with Mike Woodson. And Purdue, I think, is 25-20 range all year long.
Yeah.
But let's talk about WKU because that's a team I think we're all sleeping on. Because
You're pulling a trick on me. You didn't say this.
yeah, I don't
Oh,
have
come
to.
on.
Oh, I
I
don't
already
have
mentioned
to.
Marion Sharp. Why are you making me do? Oh, jeez. I don't even have any notes ready.
That's okay because I got this in the bag, buddy. Because I
All
have
right. All right.
because I have a
Go ahead.
first on source. Okay, thank you very much. But anyways, they were 19-13 a year ago, which was second in the Conference USA East Division. But I think obviously they make a big step going forward because of course, like you alluded to, Jamarion Sharp, and they have the best point guard in the nation that no one is talking about,
Yes, they
Davion
do.
McKnight. Mr. 2020, Mr. Basketball that I covered
Friend
for
of the
2 years for the
program.
Sentinel News. Yes. Do what?
We love him.
We love it. Yes,
What?
we absolutely we love Davion McKnight. And also they have a key transfer in former 2019 Mr. Basketball Dante Allen, who, I think it's pretty good when you only need 13 games in your senior season and win Mr. Basketball.
Yeah, you may be
Not to
pretty good.
mention, there's a little history with Davion and Dante. They both played through the MATTS AAU program. They are familiar. When you have two high-profile players from Kentucky that are very familiar with each other, watch out. So I think the Hilltoppers are going to make some serious noise, and they might even be the second best team in Kentucky this year.
I would wholeheartedly agree with you on that. You've got the tallest guy in college basketball. I think he's going to be a defensive. If they do a defensive player of the year, he would win it. And like you said, Davion McKnight is just one of the exciting players to watch out there. So I like Western Kentucky a lot, even if they weren't on the question and you didn't tell me I was going to get to talk about them. Still bitter about that. But I love the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. You love the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. So yeah, I think it's unanimous. I think we both think Western Kentucky will be pretty damn good this year.
Agreed. So moving on to the last topic of the day, Arkansas has arrived.
I'm not even gonna reach for the cap because there's no point. Um uh yeah, they're only returning one starter. They're only got one starter. It's sad, isn't it? Nah,
No,
it's not sad at all. Let's see.
no.
They brought in Nick Smith, who's a projected top 5 pick. Anthony Black, another guard, who's gonna be a lottery pick. Jordan Walsh, giant swing man, could be a lottery pick as well. Oh, let's see. Transfers. Jalen Graham, you might have heard of him. Uh, Trayvon Brazil from Missouri, yeah, pretty good. The Mitchell twins from Rhode Island, who were a defensive force last year, not bad. Oh, yeah, and they added the sixth man of the year from the American Athletic Conference and Ricky Council the fourth. Yeah, I think they're going to be pretty good. Les, I'm going to tell you now that if you aren't making appointment viewing for the University of Kentucky, University of Arkansas conference matchups, you need to now because those games are going to be game of the century, epic quality, a battle between two deep teams who have built through the transfer market, who have a good crop of freshmen with them. Those games are going to be incredible. And Arkansas is here, and Arkansas is going to the Final Four unless I may or may not have already put them in the championship game because I think they're that good.
Ooh, I like it. I like to hear it.
I'm really high on the Hogs.
We got about 3.5 minutes, so I'm going to make this as quick as I can. So, Matt, you want to know how good of a coach Eric Musselman has been?
How good is he?
For the first time since 1994, so like I was one, the Razorbacks have won 25 games in back-to-back seasons. And not to mention all the transfers that you mentioned that they brought in. And of course, they have the number 2 overall class with 3 5-stars. I mean, Eric Musselman is one of the trendiest coaches in college basketball right now, and it's a lot of the position that he has Arkansas in. So I wanted to reach for the cap just to try to throw everybody off, but I couldn't even do it in my subconscious. So no, they're here to stay, and that's all I got to say.
We can't do it.
No, we can't do it. So,
well, with about 2 minutes left, we're going to take this time now to address something about Les's ego.
Yes, we are.
You want to say it, Les? Let you break the news.
Officially, my master plan is unfolding, and I'm waiting for his performances to start taking off so I can post the meme of Thanos with the caption, "They called me a madman." So, anyways, if you haven't seen it, Sam Ehlinger is officially the starter for the Indianapolis Colts, and you heard it here first on the Less is More Sports podcast. And I want to shout out my man Andrew Day for his comment on my video, which has inspired my name on the podcast as the
Thanks,
Prophet.
Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. That actually made my week, in all honesty, and also thank you for listening to the podcast. So I can't wait for the Church of Ehlinger to unfold.
The Church of Ehlinger may encounter the Church of the Washington Commanders defensive line, and that could not end. That could go a couple ways. And I think this also says a lot about where the direction the Colts are headed. I hope Ehlinger is good, but at the same time, if he's not, I hope it's apparent early, so that way the Operation Tank can begin. And with the trade deadline about 4 or 5, maybe a week out, it's time to really start evaluating guys like Yannick Ngakoue, Stephon Gilmore, and Bobby Okereke. See how much value you can get for them, because I don't think it's fair to Stephon Gilmore to make him sit around on a team like this anymore, especially when you could get Chris Ballard's favorite thing, draft picks. So it'll be interesting to see the direction that the Colts head with going into a very tough stretch of their season. I hope Ehlinger's okay. I hope he's good. I want Les to be right, but if he's not, let's just hope it's apparent early so we don't have false hope.
Well, as always, if you like the content, like and subscribe to Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channel. Follow the social media pages on Facebook and Twitter. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. Of course, I'm going to tell you that this is my second awesome prediction. Then you all got to start listening to me. So without further ado, Matt and the Prophet are out.
My eyes are rolling so far back in my head right now. I can see my brain stem.
The Prophet and the Undertaker. I like it.
Oh my God. Hold up there. You have to go one-on-one tonight with me, I'm going to take you into the ring.